to Justice Quest.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Another day of broadcast excellence here. We are deep in the underground bunker, and the door is secure so we can't be interrupted. So, anyway, today's message is going to go ahead and surround against Matthew 5:33 through 37. And we're going to go ahead and cover that. I'm going to go ahead and read it. All right, the gist of it's right up there. Again, you have heard it said that to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. But let your yes be yes and your no, no. For whatever is more than these is from the evil one. The evil one, Satan. Yeah. Oh, by the way, feel free to go ahead. And if you have any questions about any of these broadcasts or comments, go ahead and leave them. I've got my monitor set up to where I could actually see them now. So I apologize. Some of you have been leaving comments and I haven't gone ahead and responded to them. So anyway, getting into that, we're going to be talking today about the Constitution and how it's been trashed and how every politician of late has gone ahead and supported some bill in some way, shape, or form that's gone ahead and violates it. And they took that oath that we just read about to protect and defend the Constitution. In fact, we will go ahead and read that oath of office here later on. But when we go ahead and realize that this important document that's been lauded all over the world is null and void now, that should make you mad. It does me. My anger on this cannot be overstated. And I'm not advocating overthrowing the United States government. I'm saying let's return civilly, to the Constitution. And we're going to get into next broadcast. We might get into the next broadcast about the presidents and how they violated the Constitution. But I went ahead and I got this copied back in 1980 something. When I went ahead and re-enlisted for the second time, I realized I've never read the Constitution, so maybe it's about time I'm going ahead and reading it to see what I'm swearing an oath before God to, And I started reading it, and holy cow, I was shocked. I was shocked. Back in the mid 80s, early 80s, it was starting to become more and more evident that our elected officials are ignoring the Constitution per their will. And this is what happened. We built a great government. And when we pretty much did everything we can, and we've gone ahead and, they look for things to make up to justify their positions. And this is true of, departments in the United States government. When they're established, the first thing they do is get in there and say how they can stay there. You know what? And I'm all for, let's go ahead and start abolishing these departments. We'll get into that's another broadcast, how we can go ahead. We are $39 trillion in debt, people. And this is on purpose. They are deliberately, and I say they, the New World Order, the people who are in our government that follows the New World Order and their butt buddies, literally, that are going to go ahead and crash this economy. and they're going to do it big. And then 6 months after, we've lost a quarter of our population because they can't feed or sustain themselves, they're going to miraculously ride in with a cure. The cure is already there. This is planned. They're going to go ahead and take over and create a one world government. But anyway, that's kind of another subject for another time. But that is important. That's something you got to keep in mind. Let's start out with the Declaration of Independence. We went ahead and everybody grew up with the thing that it was all about taxes. No taxation without representation. Oh, there's a lot more to it than that. A lot more. One of the there is. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 3.5 pages of grievances that they went ahead and enumerated in the writing of the Declaration of Independence. For instance, he has forbidden the King George has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation until his agent assent should be obtained. So when the governors of a particular colony had urgent matter, all right, they had to table it and then write a letter to King George. So it was like 3 months there, a month to consider it, and probably 3 months back before 7 months. And that was unheard of. And when so suspended, he had utterly neglected to attend to them. All right, yeah. So that was one of them. King George has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people should relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. All right. And another thing is that when he did was he had dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the right of the people. Isn't that what we have going on today? I'll ask that question again. Isn't that what we have going on today? I love the line in Mel Gibson's movie, The Patriot. What's the difference between one tyrant 3,000 miles away and 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away? And he got a standing ovation that. Yeah, we have a lot of people who have go ahead and run for office and they don't pay attention to the Constitution or they don't even know it. Another condition, and I'm just highlighting here the highlights. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount of payment of their salaries. Yeah, that's another one. He has affected to render the military independent and superior to the civil power. Yeah, so basically a commander can do whatever he wanted. Oh boy. Yeah, and there's more and more. That's just a highlighted though. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. Yeah, he has excited domestic insurrections among us. Isn't that what's going on with Antifa and the liberal left? Aren't they burning cities at the behest of the left in this country? And what are the conservatives doing? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So if they go ahead and they are casting their lot with the evildoers and they're saying nothing, then they've gone ahead and agreed with them. The purpose of this show is to go ahead and hold these people that we elect accountable. Now, we went ahead and had our voting day here yesterday in North Dakota. And one of the people, a representative, was up for re-election, and I said, absolutely not. I didn't vote for him. And this is the reason. Because from what I can see, she's not doing anything good for the country. Neither are our senators, and I'm not going to, but they weren't up for election. They have not called into the Department of Justice up on the floor to go ahead and ask why FBI abuses are going on, and that's for another time. But this is what happens when evil takes over. Good gets pushed aside. The left has gone ahead and declared war on the Christian right in this country, and that happened back in 2003 to 2005. There were outright calls for getting rid of the religious right, and that's how it was phrased. And I'm going to be checking comments every once in a while here to see if anything interesting pops up. So, don't be afraid to leave a comment or a question. And they got the signers of the Declaration of Independence. A lot of them we haven't heard of. Benjamin Franklin, we've heard of, a few others. Who heard of Thomas Stone? Never heard of him before until I read this. But we're going to go ahead and cover the Constitution and how it's been ignored. And as you can see, I've got things underlined here. As you can see, we decorated a little bit yesterday, and we got our hangman noose up there. That's going to be the official logo of Justice Quest here, because that's what we need to do, start holding these people accountable. And if they violate their oath of office, we need to take them out and hang them. We used to do that in this country. When somebody went ahead and was a loyalist to England, we went ahead and tarred and feathered them. We turned them out of their house. Most of the people stayed neutral, and that's up to them. But let's go ahead and take a look at how the Constitution's been ignored over the years. Okay, Article 1, Section 7. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. Oh yeah? Well, how come we don't have any of our congressmen or presidents going ahead and held trial for impeachment? Bill Clinton was impeached for lying to Congress. Really? I always wonder what that little smirk was that he had on his face, and then the Lord showed it to me and he says, you know what he was thinking? After all I've done, this is what they're impeaching me for? And I mean, doggone, man, he sold missile and nuclear technology to the Red Chinese for $200 million. And I was the only airman at Grand Forks Air Force Base that was screaming bloody murder and wanted his head on a platter. Yeah, I was a patriot even back then. You know what? And no matter what I took to my chain of command, they always dismissed it. Well, if I did the same thing with a piece of classified information I was entrusted to, what would happen to me? Oh, you go to jail. Well, what's the difference between me and the president? He's the commander-in-chief. And we went round and round and round for about 6-8 months. And finally, they went ahead and made the pronouncement, a roll call one time. Well, he's the commander-in-chief. He can declassify anything he wants to. No, he didn't declassify it. He went ahead and sold it. He sold military secrets. Well, guess what? It's my turn now, bitch. Lord told me then after they came in that pronouncement, don't worry, you're going to get your turn. This isn't over. I'm calling on Congress to go ahead and impeach Bill Clinton under treason and have him hung. Yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry, and this is only one of many injustices I've seen over the years. Yeah, I actually called for the hanging of a former president. And we haven't even gotten to the Bushes or Obama yet. We will in future episodes, though. So, Article 7 of Section 1 has been ignored. Each shall, let's see, Article 6, Section 5, each house shall keep a journal of its proceedings and from time to time publish the same, excepting such parts as may, in their judgment, require secrecy, and the yeas and nays of the member of either house shall, on any question, shall, at the desire of 1/5 of those present, be entered on the journal. Oh yeah, yeas and nays. We had a major bill coming up, it's got to be back at the turn of the century. But I sat there and I watched, and this was all over the news. The Speaker of the House went ahead and called for a roll call, a voice vote, and the yeas were pretty much subdued, and the nays were loud and numerous. And he said the yeas have it. Really? I would have stood up and said, I want a roll call vote. Not one senator did. Or one House representative did. We have to go ahead and bring law and order back to this country, people. If not, we're doomed. Because the New World Order is sitting there champing at the bit to go ahead and take over. And President Trump, I think, is the only one trying to stop it. And President Trump, I call to you. It's time to form the military tribunals and hang all these traitors. Trial. You did it? Yes? No? Guilty? Yep. Okay, fine. Right out there. All stations, all channels at 6 p.m. I'll even build the gallows and throw the handle. I don't know how many times I've called my congressman on a certain subject and, been blown off. Yeah. We thank you for your input, blah, blah, blah. They go ahead and we get reports from the Senate that, and believe it or not, I can understand this. One senator said if he gets 3 phone calls on a particular issue, that's a landslide. Most issues people don't, and the reason why is most people say, you're not going to listen to me anyway. You're not going to do the right thing anyway. You're going to do what your political masters do. We elected you. We are your masters. Article 1, Section 6, the senators and representatives shall receive a compensation for their service to be ascertained by law and paid out of the Treasury of the United States. They shall, in all cases except treason, felony, and breach of the peace, be privileged from arrest during their attendance at the session of their respective houses, and in going to and returning from the same, and for any speech or debate in either house, they shall not be questioned in any other place. Yeah, all right. Adam Schiff or Swalwell, I forget which one it was sleeping with a Chinese intelligence agent. Yeah. What do you think? You think she loved you? Come on now. They were pumping you for information. Maybe that was the wrong term, but to go ahead. We can't keep leaking our secrets. And I learned of a big one here not too long ago, and that's for another day. But now here's one that kind of goes ahead and pertains to this, what's going on in this country now. To establish, okay, this is in Article 1, Section 7, about paragraph, Section 8, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. To establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States. Okay. To establish a uniform rule of naturalization. Yeah, we have that in place, all right? We have a flood of illegal immigrants. They're called illegal immigrants, not undocumented aliens. Illegal. They've entered this country illegally. Which part of illegal is unclear to you? Which part of illegal don't you understand? We have, during the height of COVID, President Biden went ahead and opened up the floodgates to our southern border. We were letting in people with all sorts of exotic diseases. That's part of the immigration process, is that you don't have any communicable diseases. And that you will not become a burden, and it's in here somewhere, that you will not become a burden on the public dole. All right? Look at what's happening in Minnesota, now being exposed in California. All right? That's also being ignored. All right? President Trump has tried to clean it up. We elected President Trump to go ahead and drain the swamp. That's the reason I voted for him twice, or 3 times, yeah. But we had a saying in the Air Force, when you're up to your ass in alligators, it's kind of hard to keep in mind that the initial objective was to drain the swamp. Yeah. Well, I come to find out that in the Air Force is the swamp, part of the swamp. We had more politics going on in the armed forces, and I went ahead and I raised the flag, the BS flag on that, and I said, you know what? The armed services is not what politics be. Oh yeah, but you got to kiss up to the chief. You got to kiss up to the colonel. No. Our job is to break things and kill people. That's our job. Our job is to be ready for war. Again, I'm jumping around here just because I'm going somewhere with this. All right, the next one, the next phrase: to coin money, regulate the value thereof in foreign coin, and fix the standards of weights and measures. You know what? The Federal Reserve wasn't brought into existence until 1913. Yeah, Woodrow Wilson and his butt buddies went ahead and Christmas Eve break went ahead. There wasn't even a quorum of Congress. And they went ahead and brought it up to the floor and they voted it all in. Yeah, that destroyed the gold and silver. That was the start of the gold and silver destruction of our country. Up until then, Congress would affix the value of gold and silver depending on population and various other factors. All right, but not anymore. Now it's left up to a Federal Reserve. And what's the Federal Reserve? Everybody thinks the Federal Reserve is part of the federal government. It's a private bank. They named it the Federal Reserve to go ahead and camouflage what they were doing. And I think it was Rockefeller that said that, Republican, Democrat, I don't care who runs the country, but, because I control the bank. That's the reason we went ahead and we didn't have a central bank in the United States. Congress did. Congress held our gold and silver. Now that we're sitting there printing money like it's going out of style, inflation has reared its ugly head and going through the roof. Oh yeah, and then we disguise it in terms of quantitative easing. Yeah, well, whatever. No, that's inflation generation. And that was Barack Obama's little thing. Yeah, his solution to the crisis of 2008, which, by the way, I was in Central, and I had my own business at that time, and businesses were hit hard during that year. And I was out in Central North Dakota somewhere because I got called for a quote. And this guy, about 60, 65, 70 years old, asked me, said, what was my opinion on what was going on? I says, you know what, I think this is the biggest land grab, real estate grab going. And he goes, you figured that all out yourself? I said, yeah. Because what was happening is people couldn't work anymore. They couldn't pay their mortgages, and their house was going back to the bank. Yeah, so it was contrived. And other indicators that our economy is in trouble and is beginning to falter. It's been beginning for a number of years, but little thing crossed my desk here a couple of months ago, and that was BlackRock, one of the biggest financial concerns in this country, has gone ahead and had to borrow $400 billion to cover their short positions. Well, that's not going to happen for very long. Yeah. Yeah, one of my friends has posted something there, so he likes to poke fun at me. Anyway, so when we had big banks starting to falter, and back in 1986, we had a little savings and loan go bankrupt in Kansas, no less, and I was stationed in Oklahoma at that time. And the news reported that the ripple effect was being felt as far away as Europe. And this was a little dinky savings and loan, and I thought, wow, our financial system is connected worldwide already, so that was it. But that was all designed by them. So anyway, that's how we got off the gold standard. I've been buying a cup of coffee and a scone the other day, and I was, the lady waited on me, and I was saying, and she hit me up with a $6 and I think it was like 48 cents or something like that tab. I said, we were still on the gold standard. This might cost me 20 cents. And he goes, oh, you're into that. My husband is too. I went, yeah, well, he knows what's going on, man. Another thing, to define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the law of nations. Yeah, this is all in our Constitution. We don't have our navies going out and getting those Somali pirates. And I once went ahead and called my senator. I said, grant me a letter of marque against the Somali pirates, and I'll go ahead and run a patrol boat up and down there, up and down off the coast of Somalia. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other people there that would join me. And somebody said, yeah, that's a great idea. We posted that on Auction Arms forum there one time. We had a bunch of, and I'll call them mostly patriots. Every once in a while we'd have a liberal wander in, and doggone man, he kind of left quietly. Yeah, but my suggestion for the border wall is being built down on the southern border. Oh, about every quarter mile, you put shooting towers in, so we can go out there and we see anybody trying to get in the border, you know. Yeah. We got another one. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. No state. Now, this is what the states cannot do. All right. But yet every state goes ahead and makes the dollar bill, all right, which is not backed by gold and silver anymore, legal tender. If I were the governors of the states, I would be going ahead and going back to the federal government and stating, hey, you know what? You need to take a look at another look at this. Oh boy. Now, this is the oath of office that is constitutionally bound. And it ties in directly to this. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. End of quote. They added the words, to the best of my ability. That was, I don't know when that was added, but I saw President Clinton take that oath of office, and he ended with, to the best of my ability, And 4 years into his, well, your ability isn't the best, And I said the same thing about Barack Obama. There's people out there that actually believe that there was absolutely no scandals during the Obama administration. They were erupting at the rate of 3 or 4 a day, and that was directly from the liberal news. Article 2, Section 4, the President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Yeah, but we already covered Bill Clinton selling secrets to China. But how about bribery? I read an article there a little while ago, and it seems that when a senator or representative goes ahead and gets elected to office, their wives are immediately hired by these big corporations, all right? And, if you don't think that these corporations put a bug in these wives' ears or husbands or whatever the case may be, and says maybe your spouse ought to go ahead and vote for this bill, and if he does, there'll be a big bonus in it for you. I'm not saying that happens, but it's not beyond the realm of impossibility. I am going to go ahead and state that is a very real real possibility. They shall be removed from office on impeachment for and convicted of treason and bribery. Now, lately, what I've been hearing about Obama is that he is a citizen of Kenya. Now, before Obama was elected, it was gone ahead and there was a big thing on the internet. Go ahead and check out the Obama birth certificate. Yeah, I did. And there was none to be had. And after he was elected, he posted the long form on the internet, and within 24 hours, people were saying that this looks like it was copied and pasted by a 3-year-old. And then 6 months later, this is government efficiency for you. They went ahead and they said that it was a forgery. It was not real. That's government efficiency. We got people out there who tore it apart in 24 hours, Why so long? After the bombing of Oklahoma City, Timothy McVeigh was captured within 36 hours due to a serial number on an axle, if I remember the case right, And here's another one, Article 6, Section 2, one of my favorites. This Constitution and laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. Hoorah! That's the catch-all. Now we're going to be covering Virginia and Colorado, and they're shaking their fists at the federal government for their gun control laws here in a minute. Because we're not done yet with the Constitution. Let's go ahead and take a look at the amendments and see how they were violated. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Wow. So much for separation of church and state. You know what? In this there, Congress hands off, President hands off. Oh, but we went ahead and got 403C. They wanted to tax churches. So if you want to remain untaxed, you had to file for 401C3 protection against taxation. But with that, they came heavy strings attached. You can't speak politics from the pulpit. President Trump removed that here about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Or abridging the freedom of speech. Barack Obama went ahead and said that if you hate speech, and that's something I disagree with, hate speech. There's a thing going around the internet right now that Canada has outlawed the Bible. No, not quite true. All right. But they went ahead and stated that if the Bible speaks about hatred or disparages any group, targeted group, such as LGBTQA, whatever, then they could be subject to punishment. Well, hold on a second here. No, that's not right. Freedom of speech or the freedom of press. Yeah, you know what? The freedom of press doesn't give you the right to print anything. When I ran for the United States Senate here back in, 2020 or whatever, I said I was for legal immigration. All right, we have laws in place. We need to do it. We can't go ahead and let these people come in there, drop their babies, and then get a birth certificate. All right, that's not right. All right, that's illegal, and it needs to be stopped. Well, President Trump recently affirmed that. Okay, well, by the time it hit Valley City down to the south of us, I was the anti-immigration candidate. No, not hardly. I am for legal immigration. Amendments to the Constitution that have been violated. That's Article 1, right there. Article 2. Oh, this is one of my favorites. A well-regulated militia being a well-regulated. That means not well-regulated regulations. That means well-trained. All right, being necessary to the security of a free state. You know, the right of the people to keep and the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You know what? We went ahead and one of my seventh or eighth grade English class was the worst for me. That's where we had to learn to diagram sentences, and man, I had a tough time with it. You know, but I eventually learned it. But this is so well designed, it's not even funny because I kind of dissected it. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. That is the reason. That is the reason. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And that's the freedom given to us by God. It's not granted to us by the government. It's telling government that hands off. The Constitution is a list of things what government can and cannot do. So the destruction of the United States, indeed, the slavery of the world is being set up incrementally. All right, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. No warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing a place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Well, you know what? I kind of got a problem with all these traffic cameras that are about to be hooked up into these massive data centers. They're going to go ahead and start making up a massive police state. In fact, I hear they're working on technology that maybe that sounds a little bit too far-fetched, but anyway, I'll go ahead and save that for another time. Yeah, and now they're going ahead and putting in sensors in our vehicles starting this year to go ahead and determine whether or not we are able to drive. Well, that's not up for AI to go ahead and determine. You know, and they all cloak this all this invasiveness under, hey, it's for your own protection. It's for your safety. Well, you know what? There's the door. Go ahead and hit that donate button and donate now, you know, to go ahead. We have rent to pay and we have bandwidth to pay for. So we want to go ahead and keep on the air to go ahead and keep educating you as time goes on. And we're just starting out right now. But as things goes on, we're going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. We're going to take you with us. Article 4. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be put in twice in jeopardy of life or limb. Yeah. Well, how about that, Bill Clinton? You went and took those 5 officers that were trying to subdue Rodney King in the Rodney King arrest, and not once was he hit in the head. They were trying to subdue him, and they weren't out of control. I was watching the faces of those things for over a year. Until you got some dimwit twit who says, "Oh yeah, I saw him being hit on the head." Well, you look at the video and see he wasn't hit on the head. But he went ahead. Those 5 officers were found innocent at first. Then he said, "Now we're going to retry him and go ahead and get the right judgment." Nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. Yeah, we got something interesting came up in the 80s under Ronald Reagan, and this is what I am supremely disappointed in him in. Was he come up with this thing called civil forfeiture? You can be denied your property over by civil forfeiture. If the game warden catches you in an infraction, he can seize your truck, your fishing pole, or your rifle, whatever you have there, he can seize it. It ain't happening under my watch. You can issue me a ticket, and that's it. I'll pay the fine, but that's as far as it goes. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. A number of years ago, there was I think it was like a row of 8 or 9 houses in I want to say it was like New Hampshire or something. And this is under George Bush Jr.'s presidency. And the community come in under eminent domain. It says that these people aren't paying. They have beautiful views of the ocean. And they went ahead and seized those houses under eminent domain because their whole idea was they were going to go ahead and build a hotel there to increase the tax base. Well, these homes were bulldozed over. They went ahead and seize the property, and George Bush put a stop to it. No, we're not doing this, And I would have marched into the county commission office and gave them what for. They ought to be hung. The enumeration, Article 9, the enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Yeah, the gun control crowd has always glommed on to the Interstate Commerce Clause, as their reason for passing gun control laws. Well, that is a violation of Article 9, right there. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited by the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Wow, how about that? I think that's void too. Really? So what do we have left here? We just got a shell of our Constitution. The United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of laws. There was a rancher out west, I believe it was in Oregon, that was shot on the road by the FBI, and he was in the surrender position. That is going ahead and the government become judge, jury, and executioner. And I believe it was tied into Hillary wanting the uranium rights that were contained on his land. No person shall, Section 3 of Article 9. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector or a president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any legislature, or, yeah, you can go on and read it for yourself. All right. Barack Obama, he is still a citizen of Kenya, from what I understand. Let's go ahead and take a look at something. You know, his grandmother, or Aunt Watusi, whatever her name is, was tried to deport it for being an illegal alien. His brother was also, I think, there was like 2 or 3 members of the Obama family that were deported, all right, because they weren't citizens of the United States and they were here illegally. You know, is it wrong to ask the question if, you know, his family members are being deported because they're illegally, that they may not be citizens also? I mean, God, man, am I the only one around here that thinks? We go ahead, and this all flies in the face of, you know, this is our Constitution. This is the highest law of the land, as Article 6, Section 2 states. If you can't abide by that, you run as moderates, but then as soon as you get into office, you go ahead and start voting liberal, big time. You know, one of our individuals running for our state Supreme Court out here, I had a very lengthy chat with him about this whole situation. And, you know, I hope, and I'm going to be watching, you know, North Dakota State Supreme Court very carefully from here on out. But I told him that the Constitution is being ignored on a daily basis. If you can't abide by your oath of office, there's the door. Find another country to go live in. You want gun control? You go live in Germany. They have very strict gun control laws there. Go live in England where they don't have any guns at all. You want abortion? Go live in China. But they won't have you because you're a troublemaker in your own country. We can't have you going against the laws of the country. Now, in Virginia, we've got a thing going on right now with the Second Amendment. Abigail Spanberger went ahead and sponsored a bill that allowed magazine bans over 20 rounds or over 15 rounds or something like that. And the state legislature went ahead and followed her. Yep, you know, they ought to be taken out. This is the solution right here, people. Oh, why? You know, why don't we just put them in jail for the rest of their life? We got to pay for that. When I was on the campaign trail for the United States Senate, I ran across Wayne Stenjum. And I asked him why. I said, why doesn't North Dakota have the death penalty? And he said an answer that was so astounding, it's not even funny. He said it cost $5,000 more per year to put a prisoner to death than it is to keep him in prison. I'm thinking, like, how does that even figure out? You're found guilty, warranted a death penalty. 30 days later, you have 30 days to form an appeal, maybe a year, whatever number you want to assign to it. All right, but you have to pay for that appeal. The lawyers don't come in there and look and build a government. Because that's what happened with Rodriguez, and I am certain that they went ahead and billed the government $700 an hour or more for his defense, and they come out with a flimsy excuse about why he shouldn't be put to death. So we got a few more comments up there. All right. Yeah. So take them out. Military tribunal, hang them. Colorado is going through its own woes. Department of Public Safety in the city of Denver. Lawsuits? Really? Lawsuits? Take them into custody. Put them in jail. Put them in prison. If you're going to go ahead and ban guns and you're wanting the military to defend this country, and you're denying your own citizens the ability to defend themselves. And all this is going on that, something interesting crossed my desk here, and I'm going to say that loosely, a number of weeks ago, and that was there are several countries out there with contingency plans being drawn up right now as we speak for when the United States fails. Not if, but when. And these people want to disarm us. No, you leave this country or you will be hung. And I'm going to say that a lot. And I'm not going to mince words. We have gone down too far and evil has taken too much root. And I'm just finishing up a book now about the FBI. There's two FBIs, FBI 1, FBI 2. FBI 1 are decent law-abiding citizens, FBI 2, or agents rather. FBI 2 is, the dirtbags. Yeah, I'm finishing that up, and I'll tell you what, the last chapter, I'm having a tough time reading it. I've gone ahead and trying to keep these broadcasts to about an hour, and I see we're just about there. But what I want to go ahead and point out to you is that, the Bible, when they lay their hands on that Bible, they're taking an oath before God. When they lay their hands on that Bible, they are signifying that they know what's in there. You take a look at my Bible, I've got quite a few passages underlined. This Bible is over 40 years old, and it's going on that, the more and more I find, the more and more it's like, wow, a lot of wisdom in the Bible. And that's the reason I am here today. I am here to go ahead and present you the truth. So go ahead and hit that donate button. Go ahead and follow us. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and support us any way you can. We're coming out with a line of coffee cups and apparel in the near future. So go ahead and we don't have them yet. So we're going to go ahead and bring them on little bit by little bit. I stopped by to take a look at the coffee cups and yesterday, and my supplier went in and said, well, she's having a problem with her supplier. I said, well, about time to get a new supplier, huh? He goes, yeah, I'm kind of thinking that way. So anyway, I was hoping to have it at the start of last week, but it didn't happen. So anyway, God bless you all. And we've got a few more comments here. Let's take a look at, let's see. Yeah, here's a good one. Gun control. The only gun control I know is keep your booger hookers out of the bang bang switch. Yep. Yep. Sage advice. My idea of gun control is using both hands. That's how you stay on target. So anyway, with that, I'll go and I'll say God bless you all, and we'll see you next time. Friday, where we're going to probably, I don't know what we're going to be discussing. I'll come up with a subject at that time, but I want to cover the Constitution, and you know what? It would behoove you all to go ahead and read it for yourselves. And have a pencil nearby so you can underline it, and go ahead and feel free to leave comments. So anyway, with that, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you later. All right.